Okay guys, we take a start with IELTS reading module and we are going to solve one test, and this test has a variety of questions, so you should see how we solve the test. This is going to be guided test. Guided means I will guide you. I will read the questions for you. I will tell you where to find the clue word, what the clue word is, how to scan the clue word, and you have to observe all the steps which I use to solve this test and how I identify the part of the passage where there is the answer and how I find the answer. So we will do all these things. I will guide you like the traffic warden. He actually guides the traffic. ये गुजर जाएं, ये रुक जाएं, ये रुक जाएं, ये गुजर जाएं, something like that. Okay? So you have to be with me. मुझसे आगे निकलने की कोशिश करेंगे तो पछताएंगे और मुझसे पीछे रहेंगे तो भी पछताएंगे. ठीक है? साथ साथ रहना है. Exactly. Yeah. So let's take a start. Chronicle of timekeeping, and then there is the clock as well. And by the way, if you don't know the meaning of chronicle, leave it. Don't worry about it. Okay? Chronicle of timekeeping. Okay, like we also use this word chronicle disease and all that. Okay, now our conception of time depends on the way we measure it. Clock, timekeeping. Our conception of time depends on the way we measure it. It means this passage is all about time, how we measure time. They will tell us the history of time, how the clocks were invented, how they made different clocks and all that. So is this clear? Now we start with the questions. Please come to page number 20. The first question type is reading passage 1 has 8 paragraphs A to H. Which paragraph contains the following information? Got it? Questions 1 to 4. Which paragraph contains the following information? Now, whenever you do this type of questions, my advice is to do it at the end. Read the questions first because for this you will have to scan all the passage, right? There are two type of questions. Question number 1, type number 1, where you have to go to a certain portion of the passage. Try to do those questions first. Question type number 2, where you have to scan all the passage. Try to do those questions in the later part. Later part means first you do 5 to 8. Then after that you come back and you do 9 to 13, and then you can come back to 1 to 4, right? Because these questions eat a lot of time. How do they eat a lot of time? For one question you have to go through all the passage, and sometimes you get lost. You don't know how to come out and all that. But anyways, we'll do questions 1 to 4 first, and I tell you how to deal with it. Okay, question number 1. A description of an early timekeeping invention affected by cold temperature. So they are talking about timekeeping invention. Timekeeping invention means it could be a sand clock or any other invention. And that invention was affected by cold temperature. For cold temperature, they might use the word freezing, -10, winters, right? Anything like that. Now, please go back to the passage and look for early timekeeping invention, and that was affected by cold temperature, right? Timekeeping invention and affected by cold temperature. Just look for that. Cold temperature means freezing weather. Scan. Freezing weather, cold temperature. And timekeeping invention, for that they can use the word devices. Devices, freezing weather. Come to paragraph D. Yeah. Now this is scanning. Paragraph D. Look for freezing weather, devices. Found it? Okay. Now I'm going to read the last 2 lines. Although these devices performed satisfactorily around the Mediterranean, they could not always be dependent on in the cloudy or often freezing weather of northern Europe. What's the question? A description of an early timekeeping. Now for that they talked about some devices. In the first part of the paragraph D, they talked about devices. affected by cold temperature, and affected by, for that they said, could not always be dependent on in cloudy and often freezing weather. So for question number 1, answer will be D. Now this is based on your scanning. Therefore, it's a good idea to do these questions at the end, because when you do them at the end does not mean at the end of all the reading, at the end of this passage. Okay, because you'll be familiar. Anyways, let's go on. Question number 2. Explanation of the importance of geography. Underline explanation, importance of geography in the development of the calendar in farming communities. Now underline calendar, and for farming communities they will use the word agriculture. Now go back, start from paragraph A. Go through paragraph A, B, C. Alright, I just tell you. Paragraph A, B, C. Paragraph A, B, C. Farming, agriculture and all that. Very good. So paragraph B, third line. Hence the calendars that were developed at the lower latitudes were influenced more by the lunar cycle than by the solar. Then they say in more northern climates, however, where seasonal agriculture was practiced. So agriculture and the word calendar, they are there. What's the statement? Explanation of the importance of geography in the development of calendar in farming communities. What is the word for farming communities? Agricultural. Seasonal agriculture was practiced. The solar year became more crucial. So for question number 2, the answer is B. Is this clear? Now this is how you will find the words, and then you will look for the synonyms of those words. Question number 3. A description of the origins of pendulum clock. Now the clue word is pendulum clock, and description of the origins, like how did they actually come up with pendulum clock and all that. And okay, you might find the word pendulum clock, but then you got to see description of the origins. Go to paragraph EFG. EFG. Yeah. Paragraph G. Okay, now listen. Paragraph G, 5th line, they have written, unlike the original form used in early pendulum clocks, the anchor escapement permitted the pendulum. Now see that they are not giving us the description of the origin. It's not giving the description of origin. Go back to any other paragraph where there is pendulum with description. F. Now why? Earliest recorded way driven. Earliest recorded means they are just giving us the description of origin. Right? And then they use the word pendulum clock. If you come to the last of this paragraph, they say by the 16th century, a pendulum clock had been devised, but the pendulum swung in a large arc and thus was not very efficient. So they gave us the history and background of, origin means history. Origin means background. So for question number 3, the answer is F. Okay. Now it doesn't mean you find pendulum clock and that is the answer. You need to make sure whether they are talking about description or not. Question number 4. Details of simultaneous efforts of different societies. Now listen, for different societies, they can use the names of the countries. France, Europe, or whatever the other countries are. Europe, America, Africa, and all that. Details of the simultaneous efforts of different societies to calculate time using uniform hours. Now go to paragraph. All right, you already found it? Yeah, different societies. What are they? Italian, Babylonian, Germany. Okay? Yeah. Well done. So, paragraph E, details of simultaneous efforts of different societies to calculate time. Now, Italian hours began at sunset. Means they calculated them from sunset. Babylonian hours at sunrise. So they counted the hours from sunrise. And then you go on. Then they say hours at midday and great clock used for some large public clocks in Germany at midnight. So Germany at midnight, Italian at sunset, Babylonian at sunrise. What is that? Details of the simultaneous efforts of different societies. Societies are Germany, France, Babylonian and Italian and Babylonian to calculate time using uniform hours. Clear? Alright, so for question number 4, the answer is E. Well done. Good.